The central narrative of this week's Parsha is, of course, Bilam's attempt to curse the Jewish people and the ultimate futility of those efforts. His klalos become brachos. Bilam's curses miraculously are transformed into blessings. And over the course of those blessings, 2 different times Bilam describes the Jewish people using the metaphor of a lion. First in Parachav Gimel, Pasuk Chav Daled, he says, Hein am kelavi Yakum, ucha ari yisnasa. This is a nation that rises like the king of beasts, kelavi Yakum, and lifts itself like a lion, k'ari yisnasa. 2 different terms there in that first pasuk. But just a few psukim later, in Parachav Daled, Pasuk Tes, again Bilam says, using similar terminology, Kara shachav, k'ari uchilavi, mi yikimenu, crouches and lies down like a lion, like an awesome lion. Who will rouse him? 2 different times with different lashonos, but all using the same basic metaphor, comparing the Jewish people to a lion. Why? Why are we compared in this incredibly important moment as Hashem miraculously transforms intended curses into blessings? Why are we compared, of all things, specifically to a lion? The Lubavitcher Rebbe, as one of his sichos, included in the collection of the Likutei Sichos, 2nd volume, noted that by referring to us as a crouching lion, in fact, Bilam is alluding to the reality that as Jews, we often appear as if we're weak, as if we're merely lying dormant on the ground, when in fact the truth is we are like a crouching lion, possessing enormous strength and with potential to rise with great enthusiasm and vigor if prompted and if called for. We're crouching, but we're ready to leap. Similarly, our description as a nation that rises and lifts itself up, as the Pasuk also describes, if we interpret it as referred to the Jewish people, implies that we were previously down, or at least we appeared to be down, before we lifted ourselves up. Yisnasa. Both the first half of the Pasuk and the second half imply us being literally on the ground or close to it, and then rising up. The Rebbe explained that the prophetic allusion here is to the fact that sometimes, and especially in Golus, we look dormant. We look like we're lying down. And in fact, more than once, perhaps sometimes often, we get knocked down. Things don't always go the way we would have liked. There are times, in fact, there have been many times, that we were hurt. But the power of the Lavi is that it is Yakum. The lion cannot be tamed. The Ari is Hisnasa. You can knock it down, but it will not stay down. Similarly, the greatness of the Jewish people is that even when we're hurt, Davka, when we've taken a shot to the chin, as it were, Mi Yikimenu, that's when we roar like a lion and we rouse to greatness. No matter how many times we've been knocked down, no matter how bad it looks, no matter how much it hurts, Am Yisrael gets up. The Jewish people have been down before, but we are never out. The Rebbe went on to add some support for this idea, to develop it, based on a homiletic interpretation. Al Pidrush, he explained a halacha that appears in the Gemara Masechta Baba Kama on Daf Tezvav. There the Gemara says that a lion is mu'ad la'olam. And the straightforward halachic interpretation of this statement is that the owner of a lion is always fully responsible, completely liable for any damage or destruction that his property, his lion, does, regardless of whether or not that lion had previously acted violently. Even if there was no history, no prior history of any damage or violence, it doesn't matter. Ari muad la'olam, a lion is always considered potentially dangerous, and therefore the owner is always fully responsible and fully culpable for any damage that his property, that his lion, impacts on other people and other people's property. However, Al Pidrush, with a ruach of Chasidus, and similar to what he explained about the psukim in our Parsha, the Lubavitcher Rebbe explains and interpreted this statement of the Gemara to mean that the Ari is muad milashon amod, or omed, that the lion is standing. The lion stands li'olam, no matter what. Whatever you throw at the lion, no matter how many times it gets knocked down, It is muad la'olam. The line always gets back up. And this, as we have seen in his interpretation of Bilam's brachos, is the singular greatness of the Jewish people. Shevel yipol tzadik v'kam, as the pasuk in Mishlei tells us, no matter how many times we get knocked down, no matter how bad it looks, no matter how much it hurts, Am Yisrael gets back up. Unquestionably, I'm sure the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave similar advice to countless people in individual circumstances of challenge. And there may have been numerous times, I don't know exactly how many, but I'm sure there were other times where he had to give this as more communal or more national advice. But there's at least one specific time, in 1956, where we know he gave this exact message to a community that was in crisis and that needed these words more than ever. In 1956, there was a terror attack in Kfar Chabad, the somewhat new and nascent, still growing and weak community, developing community of Chabad Hasidim, the Lubavitch enclave near Lud. Fedayeen terrorists snuck into the school spraying machine gun fire and murdered 5 students and a teacher. The community was obviously traumatized, and in fact there was talk of closing all of the local schools. A few days after the attack, they received a brief telegram from the Rebbe, whose message was encapsulated in 3 short but powerful words. Behemshech habinyan tenuchamu. Comfort will come through continued building. This is the eternal charge of the Am Kalavi, and this is our legacy. We are a people who builds and knows how to rise to the challenge. We always get up. We never give up. That's what it means to be part of Am Yisrael. That's our history, and that's our destiny. Whether it's individuals going through challenges or those times where Am Yisrael as a nation has been challenged and been knocked down. We always get up. We're like the lion, and we will do so until the time of the final redemption.